It's time now to review headlines from today's newspapers. Steve, shall we start?
We'll start with this day on Saturday, the newspaper of record. Let's take it from top to bottom. The window story, is something that a lot of Nigerians will be interested in.
Definitely.
What's going on in the U.S. Anxiety heightens among Nigerian immigrants over Donald Trump's deportation policy. That story is on page 5 of today's This Day. Interestingly, that's the lead of Punch.
Yes.
Punch captures it this way: U.S.-based Nigerians go into hiding amid Trump's deportation crackdown. With the rider, we've stopped going to church, work, public places. That's according to immigrants. Isn't it interesting that given that Obama is said to have deported more illegal immigrants, more than 4 million of them in his 8 years, possibly the president with the largest deportation in recent American history. But then Trump, who had 4 years and did, I believe, around just 1 million in his first term. But it is this issue of, illegal immigrants that is like the big deal at this point. More than 3,000 Nigerians already on the first list.
Yes.
And I think, was it Abike Dabiri-Erewa, who advised them first on the one hand to say that you better transfer your dollars home, before you are picked, or and then adding that Nigeria will welcome you warmly, when you come back. I mean, the issue is that if they haven't gotten their papers perfected and on illegal status there, it will be a tough call to fight deportation because it's not happening only in America.
Yes.
It happens in the UK. I mean, Rishi Sunak almost succeeded in saying that, illegal immigrants should be taken to Rwanda.
Yes.
Until the court, said otherwise. It's a tough time.
It is tough because when we're talking about sovereign nations and like matters of law, you can understand where this is coming from. The difference, I think, and you raised a really valid point. We're talking about the fact that President Obama, a Democrat president, actually deported far more. Once he got to the end of his 2 terms, right? But what we're looking at here is that Donald Trump made immigration the cornerstone or a cornerstone of his re-election campaign. And he was able to successfully weave a narrative that prosperity would come to Americans in the face of America being put first. And in order to put America first, you're having to take non-Americans away from the country. And perhaps that should set the country about the time or on this path to prosperity, because as we're seeing around the world, there is definitely an economic slowdown. People are facing different levels of poverty, even in the likes of the United States. So I can understand that to an extent, but also, as I'm sure you can hear by my accent, I too am a first-generation immigrant. I know exactly.
That's where I was coming to.
I know exactly what this struggle feels like.
What would be your advice to Nigerians that will be affected at this point? Hide, or return home and perfect your papers, or stay in Nigeria and assist in building the country.
Yeah, the situation is very splintered because people are at different stages of their immigration journey, different stages of their process of trying to become, whether it's to secure a green card or get citizenship or permanent residency or to get a passport. People have different paths there. What I will say, even though I'm not an American, I was born in another country, I will say that the fear that people are facing is legitimate. And I do think that we have to be also very careful with the narrative being spun as though people, though they may be illegal immigrants, they are not criminals. They are not all bad people. They are not people who deserve to be shackled and collected as though they are slaves and then thrown back to their home countries. It is difficult because
the press lady to Trump
and the second lady,
exactly.
Both immigrants
the mere fact
themselves.
that you are there illegally, it's a crime on its own.
Right, but where's the conviction?
Absolutely.
Where's the conviction? And they would have more than likely, especially if we're talking about Nigerian immigrants, more than likely been able to enter the country legally, actually.
They just want to walk and
this is it. So it's very difficult. Every person who was not very tough, every person who was not born in a country where they are now living has gone through this process. So I do think that we need to be a bit more sympathetic.
All right, just quickly run through before we maybe have time for Saturday Telegraph. A few other stories on the cover of this day. NNPC oil marketers spend 5.5 trillion naira on petrol diesel importation in 4 months. That's on page 6.
Yes.
I thought that Dangote has come to the rescue and that Warri and Port Harcourt, but we are discussing
Refineries,
5.5 trillion. A few other stories. JAM shifts 2025 UTME registration to February the 3rd. That should be on Monday,
yes.
I believe. That's on page 6. And then PDP governors move to save party from crisis. We've discussed that already, and I think that's the cover picture. PDP revival on their minds, you know, looking all dapper
in the Delta regalia.
regalia.
Oh, that's true, actually.
Yeah,
Orobo, isn't it?
Orobo, yeah,
yes.
Yeah. And then the lead story itself: stock market gains 1.95 trillion naira in January.
Yes.
Federal government meets JP Morgan to ramp up investment. And then the rider in recovery ratings, Fitch retains Nigeria, 13 others in category D. January not too bad, but a lot that we still need to do to get the economy going. We haven't got time for Saturday Telegraph or Tribune, but of course readers can see what's on the cover and inside of all those papers. All right, then that brings us to the end of the morning show today. Thank you for watching. I'm Steve Ayorinde.
And I'm Adefemi Akisoya from our entire team here in Lagos, Nigeria. Enjoy the rest of your morning and, of course, the rest of your day.